All right, thank you all for being here. What we wanted to call this press conference for is to kind of give you an idea of what our narcotic investigators and members of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office has been doing for the last 3 days. With me up here is Colonel Kanata. We also have in the room Lieutenant Mike Workman, who's head of our narcotics unit, and we have Sergeant Patrick Crossley, who's also a supervisor in our narcotics office. If you recall, on August the 20th, we made an arrest utilizing our SWAT team and narcotics unit. This was in a 200 block of Southeast Kalish Road. This information has been on our social media. There's also some photographs on our social media. During that particular incident, we recovered 2 grams of heroin, 20 grams of fentanyl, 219 grams of methamphetamines, 1.4 grams of marijuana, a little bit of spice, and $1,300 in cash. There were also some unknown substances that were sent to FDLE for testing. We ended up arresting 5 people in that case alone. The very next day, on August the 21st, again, narcotics officers served a search warrant, this time in the 7700 block of Davis Highway. In this particular search warrant, we recovered 121 grams of methamphetamine, 26 grams of heroin, 2 firearms, $400 in cash, and in that case, we arrested Jeffery John Ohara and April Nicole Brown. That's the ones you'll see here on the very first box picture here, and then the narcotics that was seized from that, as well as the firearms, are in that very first table. Not finished yet, the narcotics unit and the SWAT team on the very next day, which is yesterday, August the 22nd, served another search warrant in a 3400 block of Old Fairfield Drive as part of another ongoing narcotics investigation. Deputies discovered in this case 212 grams of crack cocaine. 212 grams of crack cocaine has a value upwards up to about $20,000. They recovered 438 grams of cocaine, powdered cocaine, and that has a value upwards up to $50,000. 2 grams of marijuana and $1,000 in cash. In that particular case, we arrested a James Allen Small, Robert Jamal Fales, Patrick Lee Mack Jr., and as you can see again, this the next board there, we have these 3 individuals were arrested, and this table to my left and to your right with the 1 firearm and all the drugs is on display on that table as well. So to give you an idea on a 3-day tally of the hard work that the members of the Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit, in many cases they were assisted by the SWAT team to kick a door in, and also our Uniform Patrol Division. So for 3 days, we have removed 20 grams of fentanyl from the streets of Escambia County. We have removed 340 grams of methamphetamine from the streets of Escambia County. We have removed 28 grams of heroin from the streets of Escambia County, 438 grams of powder cocaine from the streets of the city of the Escambia County. That's almost a half a kilo. 212 grams of crack cocaine. In addition to that, we have had 3 firearms and a total of 10 arrests. Again, I think these are results of the hard work of the men and women at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, specifically the narcotics unit, who is assisted by the SWAT unit, the uniform patrol, and also you don't want to discount the engagement we have with our communities. We have done some research on these people that were arrested, and what I have here is just a brief rundown of some of the arrests of the people that are involved in these 10 arrests. Now, I haven't gone through all of these. Each one of these are separate. So as you can imagine, we got some work to do still to go over and find out what exactly they were arrested for, and then work on with the state attorney's office on these arrests and the prosecutions for it. Because there's some unique aspects of some of these cases, I've asked Colonel Kanata to come here and kind of give you an idea of the lay of the land with regards to drugs in Escambia County. Colonel Kanata.
Thank you, Chief. So in the past recent years, I'd say about 10 years, we've seen a different, I guess you would say, different things happen with the drug world. So in the beginning, formerly working narcotics, we always worried about crack cocaine and cocaine in general, and marijuana has always been out there. I know there's different varying opinions on that, but here lately in the past few years, we served search warrants, at least the narcotics unit has, and what we have found is that the majority of the dealers don't just stick with one type of drug. You'll see here on the table, you have heroin, you have fentanyl, you have marijuana, you have crack cocaine, you have methamphetamine. It is a price thing. what's going to be more lucrative, but it's very odd here recently that we hit these doors, serve these search warrants, and we find multiple different types of drugs being sold by these individuals, because it used to be a thing of the past where it would just be one specific thing. You'd go to a specific individual for a specific type of drug. So we've seen that kind of evolve, as with everything else in the drug world. Tacked onto that, you see the guns down there. Where there's drugs, there is undoubtedly some type of violence associated with that. I can't say that the guns are being used directly towards law enforcement or to be used against us. It's more so that a lot of the crimes that we have as far as home invasions and robberies are individuals kicking in the doors of those that have these type of drugs with them. The chief said it. You're looking at a culmination of over 3 days, about $125,000 worth of drugs. That is a lot of money. So those guys take those guns, they have them on them strictly for their protection against rival dope dealers, people that would wish to do harm by kicking in their door, which we have seen in the past. Great job by the narcotics unit. I can't thank them enough. 3 days, that's a lot of work in 3 days. Chief.
Thank you, Colonel. When we do press conferences on drugs specifically, one of the questions that we normally get is, how big of an impact is this going to have? I can tell you that we're not yet ready to say that we've won the war on drugs, but I can tell you that when you remove this much narcotics, this many guns, this many people are arrested, you're going to have an impact. It may be temporary, but there's going to be an impact. It's going to give our communities a chance to breathe again and to go ahead and make the improvements that they feel like they need to have. Colonel Conata mentioned it before. I know that in my time when I was a narcotic investigator, we had a lot of crack cocaine. We were always seizing what we call cookies, or small rocks of crack cocaine. And now we've got, this is the first time probably 10 years or so that we've seen this much crack cocaine. That's concerning. It's concerning because it's not like cocaine is pushing some other drug out the back door. It's not like they're evolving that much. They're just adding that to the spice and the marijuana and powder cocaine and methamphetamines and all these things, heroin and fentanyl, obviously. So now, as the Colonel mentioned, you can, as a one-stop shop, you can go to wherever you want to. But keep in mind, when you hear home invasions and you hear this and that, and we always say that if you're engaged in high-risk behavior, you have that a possibility of being victimized by that. It's because people have stuff like this in their houses. These two tables were two houses, and then the one we talked about before, that's also on our social media page, there are 3 houses that had that much. If you're looking and you're desperate for drugs or money, these are the types of houses you're going to go to. And so we're very proud, as Colonel Conata said, we're very proud of the work that our investigators are doing. They're going to continue to do the work, and not just these neighborhoods, they're going to do the work in every neighborhood in Escambia County. And with that, we'll answer any questions if you have them.
Of course, on Channel 3 News, do you believe the activity between these 3 separate cases are connected to each other, or are they just separate incidents of drug activity?
At first glance, they're all separate. 2 different areas of town, 2 different types of drugs as far as the distributors and where they actually originate from. And we know through the investigation of narcotics that they are not associated with each other at all.
And where do you believe, if you have any indication, where the source of these drugs are flowing in from? Is this a cross-border thing coming from Mexico? Where is the source, you believe, of the narcotics and the drugs?
100% it is originating in South America. Colombia, Mexico, makes its way across the border. We know down here in the Northern District of Florida that the travel route is from across the border in the Texas area to Atlanta, and then south from Atlanta to here. It used to be different. It used to be they drive straight to Houston or along the I-10 corridor. A known fact that a lot of people don't know about is your dope dealers in Houston and Texas know this area, the I-10 corridor between Louisiana and the Northern District of Florida, that would be called the Bible Belt. They know that the sentencing guidelines down here are much harsher than anywhere else.
And you mentioned that evolution you're seeing in the types of drugs you're finding here. Is that something you're talking to federal authorities that deal with that cross-border trafficking to try and maybe get a further handle on this evolution activity? What's being done on that front?
It takes a lot of cooperation between all the agencies to do it. Obviously, in Escambia County, we're limited to the western border and the northern border, but you could see over the years, and I've been here 22 years, and it's just as the chief said and I said, it started out with crack cocaine, but these drugs have gotten so much worse. For instance, the fentanyl. You're seeing out there in our county, in our community, fentanyl pills disguised as Xanax pills. So that's concerning because a lot of the attractive audience to that is your teenagers, your younger people. They want to take prescribed drugs. Well, what they think they're buying, prescription pills such as Xanax, is actually fentanyl, and it's killing people. They're ODing on it. And if EMS doesn't get there quick enough to give them Narcan, they don't survive. We've seen an influx of the number of overdoses based off of fentanyl.
Is there a way, do you think, that people in the community can help you track down these drugs?
Continue to do what they're doing already. A lot of these investigations start with a complaint. I will give credit where credit is due, and we rely heavily on the community because we, law enforcement officers, even our narcotics officers, we go through an academy, 7 months, where we're kind of reprogrammed, we talk a certain way, we act a different way. So our undercover officers can only do so much. What we rely upon is members of the community to call in and make those complaints, and that has worked so far.
Statistically, are you seeing an increase in drugs flowing into the local community? What's the outlook in terms of mass of drugs coming in?
Statistically, I would not say there is an increase. What today is all about is on the right-hand table, what was seized out of the 3400 block Old Fairfield is the amount of cocaine and the crack cocaine that was already cooked up and converted. We have not seen that in quite some time because they moved from crack cocaine. Then you had the pill mills in 2010. They were shut down where we had all of the opioids going around and, doctor shopping and things like that. And then we went to methamphetamine labs, clan labs. We haven't seen one of those in quite some time. And now we have meth coming across the border just like every other drug. Our biggest concern right now is the fentanyl and the heroin because you can't detect it, you can't smell it. It's a danger to the public, it's a danger to the officers that are investigating these things because they too are susceptible to becoming overdosed on this stuff simply by touching it.
The amount of fentanyl that you recovered, how many people do you feel could have overdosed on that amount that you received?
Fentanyl is sold not by gram, so you're not buying a gram. And if you think of fentanyl, they use that primarily for surgeries and getting knocked out prior to surgery and things like that. They use micrograms, micro parts per millions and things like that. So for the amount that we had, you're talking about at least 100 customers that you can mix it and cut it with.
And we're going to have to do is an analysis of what we have, the purity of the fentanyl that we have before we really can get that question. But anytime you have any fentanyl, you don't know, and that's why people end up overdosing and dying. So, any more questions? We're good. All right, thank you all very much.